What's going on, people? I feel like it's been a little while since I sat down and did one of these here live things and all that stuff, right? But I'm doing one today, so there is that. Anyway, so this right here got this box, and then another one. If you saw the thumbnail, unless I've updated it by the time you're watching this, you probably already knew all that. Either way, so this one comes in from the Nike people. All right, let's go ahead and sometimes they have like this easy to like tear open siding thing or whatever. This time, I mean, easy enough, but like not like perforated or anything, just glue type things. So that's fine enough. Go ahead and sit that down there, right? So now, where's that? There you go. There it is. Pegasus 41. What does that say for colors? Blue void, sail, metallic gold. Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate based on what I remember from the picture. All right, let's. Oh, never looked at the bottom of these. That's different. Yeah, I mean, I've seen them a couple times and well, in pictures online. That's what usually leads me to buy things. But I never really looked at them a whole lot. And the reason being is because this is more of one of those like story-driven type purchases or whatever. So let's look over these things real quick. They're still readily available. There are actually a lot of Pegasus 41s on sale on the Nike webpage right now, probably in other places too. But I mean, at this point, the Pegasus 41 is kind of an older model. It came out, what, like November, maybe October? So they've got some other things that are kind of replacing these and all that stuff, right? So I get it. And they made a million colors. So you got to kind of do something to get these things out of the way, right? So dropping the price seems to be the easy way to do it, which is a good thing because, saves you some money. All right. Anyway, so this right here, the Nike Pegasus 41 in the Prefontaine colorway, right? Or like blue void, gold, metallic, whatever it said on the side of the box. Down across the bottom, what I was talking about earlier, I don't know. I guess I just expected like a different type of color down there, but it's kind of like almost reminds me of like the space hippies in a way because it has like that little rocky sort of look to it, like clay almost or whatever. I forget what exactly they called that, but that's kind of going on all throughout there. So you got some air zoom, and I believe you have React X too, right? Yeah. So it's going to be like a bit of a mix here. I think there are two air units in this. I can't remember exactly. I usually don't pay attention to like all the details like I probably should, and I remember even fewer when I do. So that's kind of why like I don't really know a lot about all this stuff all the time. I know it when I need to know it. I might do a refresher before the review, but we'll see. Anyway, so moving on past that, as far as like the upper goes and all that stuff, right? That's kind of what things are looking like. It looks a little bit lighter in some places on the screen than it does in person, but it's pretty close. It's like a nice dark blue sort of color going on in a lot of cases, a little bit lighter in some areas. But it looks actually like really cool. I've never noticed until right now that this isn't one solid color. In my mind, it was just blue, right? And I mean, it still is just blue, sure, but there's like shades of blue that are going on here, right? That's kind of the thing. Anyway, so past that, laces wise, pretty standard flat stuff, right? The tongue, it looks like it's going to be like thicker than it is, right? Because it just kind of has that look, but it's still thin enough in my opinion, so that's cool. Gets a little more plush towards the top. We have like the Nike things, so let's move that out of the way. I don't think my last one said Nike Pegasus in that same way. As a matter of fact, I'm sure they didn't. I just wore those yesterday, meant to bring those over here, did not do that, so there will not be any sort of comparison with the other one, but there's not a whole lot of reason to really compare anyways. There are a lot of Pegasus 41 colors, and much like a lot of the other shoes, like what was it, the Air Max Dawn or the Pre-Day? One of those, like some of those like had like this style text and some of those didn't, right? It kind of depended on the colorway. So sometimes they just kind of switch things up like that. It's not always just a palette change, right? Anyway, so moving on past that, get on to the inside. That's where things kind of get a little bit different, right? So on this one, on the right one, you have Pre on the side of there, which is short for Prefontaine, Steve Prefontaine. He was a long distance runner, I believe 2,000 meters to 10,000 meters, whatever that is in miles. I don't know, but either way, it was a good amount of distance, right? Because I mean, 1,600 would be a mile, right? So, and he set records in all those things that he did. So he's pretty good at it, right? Pretty good at the running thing. And then you have their track and field distance, which kind of goes in line with what I was just saying. And then on the other one, also has a pre on the inside there, but down on the bottom it has some different text. I like to make something beautiful when I run. So I guess that's a quote from him because it does have his name down at the bottom there. So anyways, these right here, like I saw these a while ago through Fleet Feet, right? I did a run back in, one other thing I just noticed. Established 1972 on the tips of the laces. There it is. There it is. Yeah, so I saw these through Fleet Feet from back in Iowa, which is, what some of you know, that's where I'm actually from. I was out there for a run and I ended up on a mailing list and I see stuff from Fleet Feet. Anyway, so they were talking about these and how they were coming around in stock. And to me, I was like, okay, well, that could be a kind of a cool thing to have, right? I got no problems with the Pegasus 41. I actually like them a fair amount. So it wasn't going to be just like something I buy and never really wear. Well, I guess because of my collection or my lineup numbers, it will be something I buy and never really wear. But the intent would be there. I'll say that. Either way, I saw them, thought that'd be a cool thing to have. I like the way the Pegasus worked out for me in the past. So why not? Let's go ahead and pick these things up when they're on sale, which brings me to this past Sunday, I think it was. Saturday. I was back in San Diego for Comic-Con, and I just had me like scrolling through things or whatever, and I saw these were on sale, and I was like, oh, well, let's see about that. So I think normally 150, got these for like 108 when everything was said and done, something like that. So pretty decent. As far as the sizing goes, I mean, I remember them being true to size, but I don't remember anything like about that specifically, So I'm going to slip these things on real quick, let you know how that whole thing works out. Yeah, it's kind of a slim sort of fit, right? You can kind of tell that just by looking at it, Now to me, and I'm wearing some Features Ultra Cushion socks, right? I think the Elite Ultra Cushion, whatever they call it. So, not as thin as some of my other ones, but even still with these, like, this is still like a really good fit, at least to me, right? I don't have like a big foot or anything. So if you do, you might want to adjust there. But a lot of running shoes do tend to be kind of a like slimmed down build, especially like the ones of this nature, right? So just know that going into it. Comfort wise though, I ran an event yesterday, a 5K in these yesterday, right? Because I wanted to get my mind around how they felt. I did not feel great because I just came off of I did a handful of runs while I was out in California and a whole bunch of walking through the convention center and through the city, all that stuff. And it was 1,000,000 degrees yesterday. Combine that with also the fact that this route was somewhat on pavement and somewhat through a field. Yeah, it was not a great day, right? So I'll say this about these. I did reviews in the past, follow-ups and whatnot. If you want to know my actual thoughts on these, like in a normal situation, go back and check that out. But I do know that I liked them, right? I had some weird feelings the first time I ran in them, but I do remember later going out and thinking like, yeah, these are actually like pretty nice. They kind of remind me of something of like the Hyperion style where it's not going to be overly cushioned, but it's going to be good enough to kind of get you through some things with a nice pace to it, right? That's the standard Hyperion, that is, right? Not like the Max or the Elites or whatever. So yeah, these right here, the Pegasus 41 true to size fit works out fine for me. Might not work out fine for you if your foot is not built for like narrow shoes. So take that information and do whatever you want to with it. Like I said, there are many of these on sale on the Nike page, which means they're probably on sale everywhere else. And I have seen these in many stores, not all the colors, but a lot of colors, Dick's Sporting Goods and whatnot. So it's a popular shoe because the price point is right there where a lot of people care to top out, So you should be able to find them if you're looking for them. This next one right there, running, etc. Sometimes you see me wearing shirts from this place or whatever because I have shirts from this place or whatever. Make sure I don't lose this receipt. Not that I need it, but I like to keep the receipts just so I can refer to them in case I need to know how much I paid for something. There's the side. There we go. So METASPEED Edge Tokyo. That actually kind of focused all right, so that's cool. So these do come in at $270, right? I had a coupon and stuff to deal with, so that knocked these down to $182, which is actually pretty nice, right? So, I mean, that's about $100 off because, I mean, $270 plus tax would probably be like $280, I guess. And so since I paid $180, yeah, it's about $100 off. That's easy math, right? So this right here, I haven't done any real research on these a whole lot because I don't think that there was a reason to, at least not to me. I know enough about the Edge on paper, but not a whole lot about like this new foam. Anyway, so this right here, the asics METASPEED Edge in the Tokyo colorway, or well, it's not the colorway, but it's the Tokyo revision, right? Because they do this I guess every year. Which one is the Edge? This one, right? This one, yeah, cool. This is the Edge from last year, right? So this is the Paris model, right? And this is going to be the Tokyo model. So they're looking pretty different, right? I mean, obviously that's going to be the case. The biggest thing being like the flat foam Leap over here. That's a new foam that they have versus like the Turbo Plus from last year, right? So that's pretty cool. It's got that whole thing going on. I believe that's only in like that part of it though, because I think that when the METASPEED Ray comes out, I think that one is going to be all Leap in the midsole. But again, I'll have to double check that. But let's go ahead and talk about these things for one moment here. So down across the bottom, same sort of build as you had last year, right? So very much the same. So that's going to give you all your traction and stuff like the black piece, right? Not a whole lot of it because you don't want it to like weigh down or anything, but that's also partly why a lot of these high-end type running shoes don't last overall as long. They're made for race day, so they don't have as many miles in the lifespan as compared to, you know, like a Pegasus would, right? It is what it is. It's unfortunate in a way because you spend a lot of money on these, but hey, it actually kind of makes sense to me. And then anyways, moving on up here to the midsole, it looks kind of dumb, honestly, like this big block in the back, but hey, it's one of those things where if it's gonna like work functionally, like kind of like the Glycerin Max, I'm not gonna complain too much about it. But that's kind of like the difference there, right? This one had like a little bit more of a design on the back end, so that kind of helps like draw your eyes in different directions, so that way it doesn't look like just one big slab like this one does. But moving on to like the upper, you can kind of see right through there because you see like the laces flopping around or whatever. Some kind of red color, got the black stuff on the side. The same thing for the Tokyo, same thing on the inside. I do also really like the color that they chose for like this little Leap stripe here. That gradient thing is pretty all right. It was a little different last year in some ways because like on this one, on the Edge for this colorway, they did this one like the same color on both sides, but this colorway was switched up. I don't know if the Edge was the same way because this is the Sky, right? So the difference, in case you're curious, like the Sky has a plate that is placed higher, whereas the Edge, the plate is placed lower, right? So Edge makes it more for cadence style runners, whereas like long stride type folks would want more of the Sky. Anyway, so moving back over to these, right? The upper does feel better, honestly, like to the touch, and it feels pretty decent on foot from what I recall when I briefly tried these on the other day. So moving on back to the back there, not a whole lot on the back end, right? Because they do keep these things pretty minimalistic. I like these laces. They're kind of like the same ones you see on like the Hyperions and stuff like that. So it makes it like difficult for them to just kind of slip through these little lace holes, so they kind of stay intact wherever you lace them up. So that's always good. Jumping on down onto the inside, METASPEED Edge, right? It also says that on the tongue here, in case you aren't sure which pair is which is a thing that happens, right? Because they both look very much the same. You just got to, again, look for like the plate styling, and that'll give you an idea of which one you're actually looking at, unless you get close on in there, right? So last year, I was going to get like the same color, which was this color over here, the one that I got in the Sky. Didn't work out because I wasn't paying a lot of attention when I went through the checkout process for the Edge. I don't know where my mind was. I just know that it wasn't where it needed to be. But this year, I do plan to get the Sky, and I'll likely get it in this color as well, since that's the one that's out. I just want to get these, get it out of the way, knock out the review and whatnot, and then have them so that way I can just kind of start using them, right? That's the goal there. But anyway, so I'm going to slip these things on real quick and tell you some sort of backstory of how this came to be. So I was at the store, this was probably like 3 to 4 weeks ago, And they were telling me, hey, we just got the edges in. You know, we can't sell them yet because the street date isn't until the 25th, something like that. But you know, you can check them out real quick if you want to. So I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do that, right? So I'm looking at them and like they look pretty nice, you know, felt pretty good and all that stuff, seemed promising. So I was like, yeah, well, I'll be in San Diego when that happens. So just give me a call when they're ready for sale, and I will pick up a pair, you know. Well, when I get back. So just hold them for me, something, you know. So they did that. I move this thing out of the way so I can get these laces tightened up. So yeah, they held a pair for me because the thing is, shoes like this aren't really big sellers. They do well on their own, yes. Like, but there aren't a lot of people just like running out to buy $270 shoes. It's just, you know, when you can get like a Ghost from Brooks for like 140 or 50, a lot of people are like, yeah, this will be fine, right? And I get it. So anyway, so squeaky these things. Like even the last pair, like I was walking down the hall at work, it was just disgusting. Anyway, so yeah, I was out running around, felt the little phone thing go off, and then like I heard the ringtone in my ear. I'm like, oh well, I pick up the phone. Oh, it's them. So they were telling me, yeah, shoes are ready. I'll be here when you get here. So Monday went pick these up. Got to look at the Vomero Plus as well, but this was the more of the focus and whatnot. So yeah, things are good. Sizing, right? So yeah, these are a true to size fit. There is not a whole lot of room in there, right? But it's not bad. It's and this type of material, right? Like it's not really going anywhere. It's not as bad as these right here. This was the what is this? The Saucony Endorphin Elite 2, right? Because on these down around like the plastic side, it's super thick, right? You can kind of tell that just a little bit. Super thick, very waxy feel, and it's not great, right? Because it's kind of narrow, and if you're not going to have a lot of room in there, so that was one of those go up half a size things. A lot of people said that actually. This one right here, I'm getting by true to size, no problem. Walked around in them a little bit. Also, I don't remember what the heel drop is, but I feel like it's on the flatter side, so you don't have to worry about as much of an elevation. I don't think, anyways. So, and even just how it felt. So that should stop you from like feel like you're slipping forward into the shoe, which then also feels like the toe box can be smaller, at least to me. So, anyways, yeah, true to size is working out fine for me, but you're not going to have a whole lot of room. And once again, fairly slim of a build, so there is that to it. If you're looking at a pair of these, I mean, I would say just buy the pair by the size that you bought last year. But I'm going to true to size on these. Same with this was a similar-ish build. This is the Brooks, what is this, Hyperion Elite 5, right? Yeah, Brooks Hyperion Elite 5. So kind of that same like sort of netted material down there around the sides. Well, that's over there now. And these, it's a different build, but all, still true to size. So far, all of these shoes, minus the Saucony 2s, have been good for me at true to size, even after running around in them. And I did just run around in my in my Paris's last Sunday, I think it was, when I was doing a little comparison test. Maybe it was Sunday. I don't even know anymore. But yeah, it worked out great. So there's going to be that. Now, I will say, going back to like the performance side of things and whatnot, like differences and all that stuff. So like I was kind of getting into before, with the Edge having a lower plate, it is made for people who have like a shorter steps when they run, right? Which usually means like you're making faster movements, but like you're making a lot more steps, right? Whereas some people will kind of take like the longer strides and have fewer steps, right? When I am actually like moving quickly, right? For me, I'm more like a wider stride type of person, which is why I prefer the Sky, right? And so the thing that I found out last week, I'm just going to say it was last week, was that longer strides on these, shorter strides on these, like works out great respectively, right? However, if you decide to like switch things up and you know you want to go with the longer strides on the Edge and like the shorter ones on the Sky, you can still do it, right? It's not going to feel as fluid or whatever because you know they're made for different things, sure, but they're still going to be solid shoes, so it's still going to be better than running in like a Dynablast or something like that, right? Of course. It's just if you want to get the most out of it, maybe figure out which type of runner you are first and then do that. Me, the Skies, if I had to only choose one, I'd go with the Sky because that's just what makes sense to me. However, I don't have to choose, which is why I'm getting the skies as well. Because depending on the day, depending on what I'm doing, who I'm running with, or whatever, different things make sense, right? So this will be a thing that to go out with sometimes. The other thing will be a thing to go out with sometimes. But a lot of people do tend to be more of like this sort of style. So if you're not sure, you could probably just go with the edge and hope for the best and be fine. You know, that's also why the store only grabbed that pair, right? They didn't go for the sky and the edge because they're like, we already don't sell a whole lot of stuff like this. People just aren't really like, it's not a huge market for it. It is what it is. Like I said, it's one of those things I don't appreciate that decision because I want stuff like easy to get to for me, right? Kind of selfish in that way. But you know, it's some good people in the store. They make the right decisions based on what makes business sense, and I totally understand that. So it's not like I can't get the skies. I just got to make a little order from Asics. So I'll get back to you in like I don't know 10 business days or something like that. I guess whenever I get around to making that order, anyways. So that's all for the shoe things, right? I'll give you some real quick recap for anyone who maybe got in here late. I don't know. Started with this right here, the Prefontaine Pegasus 41. Very nice on the cheaper end, and they're on sale in a lot of places, which puts them even deeper into the cheaper end. So it's something worth considering. I would imagine at this point there's some stuff probably coming around to replace them though, because like I said, these came out around like November, and I don't know how much those Vomero pluses are, but those are coming soon. And then the Vomero 18 itself is also out there in a lot of colors and, in my opinion, a better shoe, but this is still nice. So if you're looking for something that's pretty decent, right, the Pegasus 41 is pretty decent. And then over here, the asics Metaspeed Edge Tokyo Edition, right? So coming in at 270, right? Oh, this was like 108-ish from like 140, 150. So yeah, a little bit higher on the price with these or whatever, but they're good. They got the carbon plate in them and all that stuff. You can't see it unlike some of these other shoes where you can, but it does really help to kind of propel you through your steps and whatnot. So it's something to consider if you really need to like shave off those last few seconds on getting your best times or whatever. Yeah, go ahead and do it. Does this make sense for anyone who's just like a normal, just average runner once in a while or whatever? I don't think so, because there are cheaper things that will do just as well for you. But depending on the way your spending is set up or whatever, do what makes sense to you. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. I'm just here to give you some information about some shoes, and then you go and you do whatever it is you want to do, right? I don't really care one way or the other. This isn't a commission-based thing, you know what I'm saying? So if you're like a Brooks guy and you're just gonna stick with them, hey, that's cool too. I got no problem with Brooks. Anyway, so moving on past that, that's all the shoe stuff. If you're done with that too, like, you can go ahead and leave, right? Like I said in the title or whatever, got some other crap here. So I'm gonna open up some shirts and some action figures, I guess, something like that. And then, of course, as always, I'll take questions from the crowd. If anybody has any questions they want to throw my way, this is the best time to do it, because if you catch me in the comments section, usually by the time I go to sit down and answer comments, I've seen a lot of them, and a lot of them are just trash, and I just don't care anymore. And I'm just doing it so that when I go into the YouTube studio, they aren't still on my screen. This shirt seems large. What is that all about? It seems like a big shirt. I don't know. Comic-Con, that was recent. I was there in San Diego from Tuesday to Sunday night. Yeah. Spending all kinds of money. It was ridiculous. What's in here? Should be some signed picture or something from, actually, I'm going to cover the address, but yeah, it comes from Joey Janela, right? Not directly, we're not friends or anything. We did take a picture once, but we're not friends. It's just he was selling some stuff online, and I was like, yeah, I would like that. So it's just some little autographed cards from Sabu's last match, right? So we got Sabu and Joey Janela there. Some GCW stuff on the back. Try to hold that at an angle to where it's not super glary. Right? I thought these were going to be bigger. like, you know, like maybe like this size or something like that. But this is actually like pretty nice. I kind of prefer it in some ways. So yeah, man, I was really thinking about going to that match, right? Let's see, that's got some the glare. Ah, screw it. The glare is kind of like ruining that shot in a little bit, but yeah, you can't really tell, but he's stabbing the dude in the head there. Yeah, I was really thinking about going to WrestleMania just so I could go to Sabu's last match. But WrestleMania is freaking expensive. Like, I don't know if you've done the math on that, but I've gone to a few of them, right? I went to 2012, 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 2022, right? So I've been to a couple of them. And they aren't getting cheaper, people. And now that they're like 2-day events, it's even worse, right? And then like if you're thinking like, well, maybe I'll just go for 1 day. You don't even know what you're gonna get on that 1 day, you know? Because you might go there and like maybe that's gonna be one of those days where, you know, it's you end up having to sit through like that Usos match. Remember when like they fought each other and they're like, oh my god, it's a brother versus brother match. Like, yeah, it is, but it's also awful. So don't go like acting like this is some amazing thing, because it's not. I can't remember if that was one where I was there or not though, because I honestly don't remember when that was. Ah, they put all kinds of tape on the side of this box, and it was like so thick. All right, let's see, what do we got here? This, oh, I don't even remember ordering this. I got this little message in the mail saying, oh, your Sandman figure is on the way. I'm like, what's Sandman figure? So apparently at some point I bought this from Zombie Sailor Toys, right? And it's not focusing whatsoever. That's kind of a better picture. Also not quite so focused. But either way, just know that I bought this Sandman figure at some point in the past, and now it's here. And it looks okay. Like, I mean, I'm a Sandman fan, right? Like growing up and watching all the ECW stuff, like you can't not be. But I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that this figure is like amazing, because it's not. But it's cool because it's Sandman, right? It's just, if I had thought that through more, I might not have bought it. But you know, sometimes you just buy stuff on impulse. You know, I mean, I do. Maybe you can relate. Maybe you can't. I don't know what your life is like. Oh, speaking of impulse buys, I bought this through Target at some point. This is the X-Men 97 Wolverine, right? I actually saw this guy this past weekend, like Cal Dodd, I believe is his name. He did the voice in the 90s and still today. So yeah, there was a reissuing of this one, and I think also Rogue too, from the X-Men 97 set, right? And I was just curious about if there was going to be anything different, you know? So I figured, you know what? I'll just pick it up. Why not? And then when it gets here, I'll dig out the other figure and I'll see if there's anything different. Probably not the best way to go about doing some of this stuff, but you know, again, impulse buys are a thing. You know, you sit around watching wrestling and just kind of like scrolling through the world to kill time, and you end up doing stuff like that. It is what it is. All right. Okay, I was wondering how this was set up here. It's a box in a bag, which is nice, because this is some comics, I believe, right? I think it's some comics. Which is good because, you know, a lot of these things don't come cheap. And even if they aren't sold out, it's still the fact of like you don't necessarily want to deal with going through all the replacement nonsense, right? That's a hassle in itself. All right, let's get that side. But I do like that they do all this. You know, I complain about it a little bit when I do like my Alex Ross unboxings and all that. But at the same time, I'd rather work a little bit extra and know that my stuff's going to be in decent shape than get it and it just be trash. Because I forget what they were talking about exactly, but when I was out in Comic-Con, some people were talking about how there was like this. It was actually the guys from Twisted that were talking about it. Jamie Madrox specifically. It was talking about some comic book or something that like when it was sent out, it was bundled in with like some other item, you know, and they didn't put the comic in anything special. And so it's just like a loose comic book in the same box as like, imagine like, I don't know, like a bowling ball or something, you know, something ridiculous. So the comics themselves that most people got are in awful shape. So if you happen to have bought yours through like some other means and like ended up with one that's in like decent shape, you're like sitting pretty, as they say. Does anybody still say that? Sitting pretty? I don't know. It's a thing that's been a phrase for a while, so I break that out once in a bit. I'm trying to not get all this like all these peanuts everywhere. That seems to have mostly worked, so that's good. All right. Yeah, like I said, you really gotta, because this isn't even just gonna slip on out of here, is it? Nope, definitely not. But that's fine. Just undo some more tape, and or is it fine? I don't know. Looks like it's not. All right, there we go. Just get all this all undone. Because there's a lot of friction here, you know, and it was taped down also on the side of the box too. So this was not going anywhere. All right, and that is also keeping the box closed. So now we're in there, and with more of this stuff. So that almost got real bad in here. Jeez, like, now I'm trying to get these out. All right. Go ahead and set this over here, at least somewhat flat, and see what these are. Because I didn't read the side of the box. I just started like tearing into these, so I'm not really sure what's going on right now. Let's see, there's that one. Oh, okay. This is going to take a bit then. Yeah, so a while ago, through Big Time Collectibles, I bought a set of Alex Ross, Alex Ross covers, basically, right? So I don't know what any of these are as far as like what issues they are, right? But I picked them up, so I'm just going to fly through these relatively quickly. I also don't even know who a lot of these people are now that I'm looking at this, right? And this is usually where I'll have the monitor off. I did see this one at the store a lot of times, though. But yeah, so I'm not sure who a lot of these guys are. I mean, I know like the last two, but I saw them, and it was, I don't even remember how much what it cost, but it was a price that I was okay with, right? Which I guess doesn't really say a whole lot. But I thought to myself, like, I'm gonna want to have these. I'm gonna put this order in right now, and I sent the link to a friend of mine as soon as I got the email. Like, hey, they're up, they're ready, because we were both kind of waiting on it, you know. So he bought them as well. He opened up his a while ago, and he was telling me like, yeah, they were pretty cool, man. Then same thing that I'm doing. Like, I'm gonna look at these right now, and then they're going to go in one of those boxes, probably the one with magic on it, because I think that's the one that's kind of empty. One of my comic book boxes. So I don't know. It's partly how things work as like a collector of certain things. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen this person before. So it's kind of cool that they do like some of these deep cut characters, at least to me, right? Because then, you know, you get some other stuff in there along with like some of the people that you're familiar with. That's how I always felt about like when I used to collect the cards when I was younger, you know, I'd get something and like, okay, cool, Hobgoblin. Yeah, that guy's pretty all right. And then it's like, whoa, what is this? Demo Goblin? I mean, though I knew of him from Maximum Carnage things, but I'm just saying, you know, like you get some other card and it's like, oh, wow. So there's that. And then one more. And closing with Quicksilver, which is actually one of my favorite characters. Somewhere I have a Quicksilver statue that came in from Iron Studios. Still need to put that thing together. I mean, it's not like it's even like a big deal. They just kind of snap in place. You know, there's some magnets here and there. It's really simple to work with. It's just you got to do it. You know, you got to not be lazy. And that whole not being lazy thing, I don't know, man. It's not always easy to not do that. So this comes in from Big Bad Toy Store. So they have the pile of loot option, right? So you can buy a bunch of stuff and you can say like, hey, just hold on to it. I'll let you know when I'm ready for it. The advantage to that being you save on shipping because it's only like $4, right? So you can't just leave it in there forever though. So from the point when the stuff is available is when like the little countdown starts. So if you buy something in January and you buy something in February or whatever, but they don't actually come out until June, then in June your 90 days starts, and that's when you got to figure out, okay, when do you want to get this stuff, right? So I usually just make an order, let a lot of stuff pile up, and then see what I bought over the last forever. So that's where we are right now, seeing what I bought over the last forever. Oh, the Maximum Spider-Man is kind of like the Supreme figures that AEW does, or the Ultimates that WWE does, right? Where it's like a nicer figure, comes with like all kinds of extras. Honestly, though, this is not far off of like a Mayfix figure. They've been doing this standard thing for like a while, though they do have a higher price point because Mayfix is a smaller company. But I'm just saying, if you've been wanting to have figures that have like high articulation and lots of accessories, Mayfix is pretty solid, right? And they've been around for a long while, so they have a lot of stuff out there that you may be interested in, not just comic book wise. And then we have this right here. This is going to be the deluxe Professor X. So, you snap that chair together and then it looks like that. Right there it is, right? So I saw this and I thought, yeah, that could be cool to have. It's got like the different heads and stuff. I'm not sure what that Mojo style head is all about. Honestly, I have no idea. But very cool. I saw this, wanted it because it seemed like it'd be a cool thing to have. And sometimes that's all it takes, right? I bought this one because I have the other Miss Marvel character, right? This is like the Dark Avengers Warbird. I got the other one that was like a Target exclusive. I honestly can't even remember anything about it, but I have it somewhere, so that's why I bought this one. Figured why not complete the set? It's like buying an Edge. If you buy the Edge, may as well buy the Sky, right? And then last and certainly not least, this right here. This is what I really wanted. This Archangel. I still need to get a standard one, like the normal like teal and purple or whatever color he normally is. But this one, the X-Force one, yeah, I like this thing a whole lot. And now looking at it in hand, yeah, this thing is very cool. Very cool. So, and I do somewhere have the original Angel in like the red and white. That one, that was a wide release. These are all wide releases. It's not like you have to go out of your way for them. But I also saw a lot of these at GameStop too. So if you're a GameStop type of person or you live near one, maybe check there. Or you can order online, and just probably pick up in store. So that's all the stuff. That's all the random crap I bought for the last couple months. After this, I am going to do a short live about my San Diego Comic-Con pickups and whatnot, because I got to give those to people. So I want to like go through those today. And I'm going to use some of these boxes to like mail things and whatnot. So that's kind of why things are structured the way they're structured. From me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. I'm going to go do the thing that I just said I was going to go do. So yeah, thanks for showing up and listening to these ramblings and whatnot. If you got anything of value out of this, that's cool. Thanks or whatever. Later, people.